night we got the absolute showdown between the Kansas City Chiefs and the LA Chargers, and the Chargers looked like they had that game in the bag, and then a pick six really hurt. And then on top of that, you see Justin Herbert go down. He gets hit, and he gets hit hard. And he was immediately wincing. They had to come out on the field, check on him. As soon as that happened, I was like, that dude just broke his ribs. Just looking at the hit, when they showed on the replay, you just saw how it went down. I was like, yeah, that he definitely broke his ribs. And that was it. I thought he would be out of the game. And credit to Justin Herbert, because he rode and stayed in there and took hits after that and everything. I mean, took a pounding to try to keep his team in the game, to try to get back and win. He could barely lift his arm to throw the ball. Somehow managed to throw a dart. They end up scoring, and ultimately these Chargers end up falling short, and the Chiefs end up winning. And today he gets x-rays, and it turns out that we get the confirmation that Justin Herbert has indeed fractured his rib cage, and he is currently day-to-day. He's likely going to be out for probably about a month. Very likely, if I had to guess. It's probably going to be out about a month, because they're not going to want to risk anything more significant happening, anything like that. So they'll probably take their time with him. Problem is that they are in a very tough AFC division, and on top of that, they just lost to the Chiefs, who I thought they really should have won that game. Not only did I think that they really should have won that game, I thought whoever won that game was very likely going to win that division. And now, depending on how long Herbert's gone, that could be an issue. Now, you do have Daniels. He is a veteran quarterback. He's a guy, but he's not Justin Herbert. And this team is still very good. They're still very good on both sides of the ball. They have all of the pieces. They fixed all their holes last season. And I think that they still could win some games. But Justin Herbert being out is going to be tough. And this is a year where the Chargers could really make some noise. They are a really good team. They might be the most well-rounded team in that division and in the AFC. I really like the Bills, and I really think the Bills very likely win the Super Bowl this year. But I think the Chargers, like on paper, if they could pull it together and everything, I think that they are very well-rounded. Now, they do play the Jaguars next week, so that's a very winnable game without Herbert. So hopefully they can pull that off. And then they play the Texans the following weekend for Week 4. So that, again, is a very winnable game without them. And then they play the Browns that third week. Now, that may be a little tougher because they play the Browns in Cleveland. And if the Browns... granted, the Browns didn't look too great against the Panthers, and I wasn't really huge on Brissett. Sorry, Jacoby Brissett. I thought Jacoby Brissett, he was great in the first half, and then just really kind of fell off in the second half. And I do think that the Chargers have enough to keep them afloat. Like, I don't know. So maybe you don't play Justin Herbert till like week 5, maybe you have him sit until week 5 against the Browns, and then see what happens with the Browns. However, week 6 you play the Broncos. Granted, you are in LA, you are at home, but still playing the Broncos. So that is a huge game. So maybe you keep Herbert out until week 6 against the Broncos, and you hope that you beat the Browns, and then you still only have one loss, and you're in a good position. Because after that, again, after they play that, then week 7 you play the Seahawks, if I'm not mistaken, and then after that, they have a bye, I believe. If I'm not, I might be wrong on that. I think week 8 is when they have their bye. Which, if they do have their bye, then if you only have 2 losses, I think you're in a good position. The luxury is the Chargers don't have an insanely tough schedule this half. Because up until, outside of the Broncos and the Browns, which I do think they could beat the Browns. I really do. Broncos may be tough without Herbert. I think with Herbert they win. But the next real opponent that could be tough would be week 10, they play the 49ers. So week 10, you're playing in San Francisco. And by then, hopefully, they've figured out their quarterback situation. Trey Lance wasn't that great week 1. But you may be able to go into that 49ers game and even without Herbert, only have like 2, maybe 3 losses at most, and maybe be able to run the board the rest of the way. My only concern is that Broncos game, because if you lose the Browns game, then you almost have to win that Denver game. Again, you don't play anybody tough till week 10, but still, you don't want to go in and end up in a position where you have 3 losses and now you basically have to run the board. Otherwise, you could run the risk of, not making the playoffs just because of the division just being so insanely stacked as it is. That's something that I think is very important. See, luckily for the Chargers, the Chiefs have a very tough schedule. Their schedule's not easy at all. I think the Chargers have a much easier schedule than the Chiefs do. So the Chiefs could catch up, and you might be able to catch up without Herbert, because I think their next 2 games they can win without him, and then I think that Browns game, that could be a coin flip, and then the following game, or the following week 8 or whatever, is a bye, and then you're playing like the Falcons and the Seahawks, and I think that they could beat both of those teams without him. It's just week 10. So, I mean, I don't know. I think it's you don't want to rush Herbert back. You want to take your time with him because you don't want him to end up getting even more hurt. And, now it's like your season's completely lost. Where if you lose 3 or 4 games, you still could be in a good position. You could still rattle off, several games, and Herbert's good enough. This was a game that they should have won. They should have beaten the Chiefs. That pick 6 changed everything. As soon as that pick 6 happened, I was like, this game's over. That was it. There you go. They just lost. Like when you're playing these juggernaut teams, one mistake, all it takes is one pick 6 and the game's over. And that's exactly what happened. You're talking about a game of inches, like literally a game of inches, when 2 elite teams are playing against each other. It's who makes the biggest mistake first. And unfortunately, it was the Chargers. And they ended up losing the game. And then on top of that, to add insult to injury, literally, Justin Herbert gets injured. Like, it's a tough position to be in for the Chargers. But I think the Chargers need to be patient. I think they need to let him work his way back in. I think you let him sit at least until week 10. I think you at least let him sit until the Browns game and see where you're at. Because that's the thing too. Like, what if you lose to, like, say, Houston? If you lose to Houston, now you're like, we really need him back. But like if you're undefeated going into that Browns game, and I think you let him ride it out. I think you let him sit and see what happens in the Browns game. If you beat the Browns, you let him sit. You could take that loss to the Broncos. I don't think that'll be the end of the world. Although you kind of do, tiebreaker stuff like that. But I like the Chiefs schedule better than I like the Denver Broncos schedule. So I think that the Chargers. I like the Chargers schedule better than the Broncos schedule. So I think that the Chargers again could get more wins than they could. Denver definitely looks more beatable in my opinion. And I just think that they have just a much tougher road than the Chargers do. So I think the Chargers would be in a very good place. Like, even if they lose that game, I still think they'd be fine. And then if that happens, you can basically let him sit till week 10. And if you can let him sit till week 10. Now, if you beat Denver without him, ooh, they're beautiful. I'd let him sit till week 11. Let him sit out as long as he can until you get to the point where you're like, we really need him, or you get to the point where it's like, all right, like, he's healthy, he's fine. I just don't want to see their season just go completely to, poo-poo because they try to force him back. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. What do you think of this information? What do you think about Justin Herbert? End up getting hurt, broken rib cage. How long do you think he should sit out for? What do you think ends up happening? I understand. I mean, there's players that have came back the following weekend with broken ribs. They get that shot and they're fine. But this is Justin Herbert. You're not just talking about this year. You're talking about his entire career. 10 plus years with this franchise that you're looking forward to. There's a lot more that goes into it than let's just go win a game or two. I think that they should take their time. But that's me, and I want to hear yours. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Let me know down in the comment section below. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.